Rabbi Wilhelm.
That's me.
Shalom Aleichem. Freilich Hanukkah.
Freilich and Hanukkah to you too. You preparing? You bought those $10 jelly donuts or custard donuts?
You
didn't?
You stumped me. But what I am kind of looking for is a little bit of light. I have a question for you.
Oh boy, here we go. Yeah.
I heard an interesting story about the Baal Shem Tov, that he liked light. He was very much into light.
Correct.
And one time in his base medrash, they didn't have enough light for his liking, and they couldn't find any more candles.
Icicles.
So he told them to go out and get the icicles, the formations of ice dripping from the roof, and they brought them in, and he ignited them, and they acted like candles.
Correct.
So how do we turn our icicles, into candles and illuminating light?
You know what? We're here in Muncie together. As you made me drive into this parking lot, I realized that it's starting to get very cold because there was a sheet of ice already on the floor.
Oh wow!
So how do we warm ourselves up? So, anyways, obviously the Yom Tov of Hanukkah is the perfect Yom Tov for this because it's all about light and warmth. But I want to tell you, let's start. You have to connect it to the parsha, also Parshas Vayeshev, and get some oomph, some life. How not to feel depressed and feel lost. So let's start with ground zero. Ground zero is the Yom Tov of Hanukkah is, if you calculate the amount of candles that you use, is 44. You know what? Without the shamish. You know what's 44? It's the same gematria as yeled, child. Because on Hanukkah you have to make sure that everything, all the lessons of Hanukkah, you teach it to your children. It has to have an after effect. Number one. Another thing is, from Me'idach, from the other side, how did the Yevanim have the great power to even, not the Yevanim, how did the Yevanim have the great power to go into the Heichel and do what they did? So there's another gematria. Yavan is 66. Heichel is 65. The Yevanim had the Klippa is so strong that it's one step, at that time was one step higher than even the Heichel. Why am I saying this numbers game? Because even though their numbers are often one, the Rebbe writes in the Rishimis, you're never allowed to budge even a iota, even a one off the right path. And the Rebbe uses the dugma, and I said this many, many times, that Yavan, the way you spell the word Yavan is Yud, Vav, Nun. And the Rebbe says they're all the same, they're all aligned. But it starts off with a little line, a bigger line, and an even bigger line. Don't let the little creep get into you, because if you let that little one number, and it can even chas v'shalom overtake the heichel and be metamed the heichel. So what happens if you're deep in the zone, in the mud? So we just started Tanya now, and I'll tell you two thoughts that came to my mind. From one hand, the Alter Rebbe writes in the Akdama of the Tanya. The Alter Rebbe says that I write this sefer for everybody to have the answers to all the questions. But right in the beginning, the Alter Rebbe in the Akdamas of Malakit calls us Aleichem Ishim Mivakshe Hashem Reitfei Tzedek. Rebbe, I'm not there yet. I'm not a Reitfei Hashem. What's about the person that doesn't even know that he needs to change? And we know that the Rebbe used to explain that the Alter Rebbe says B'yodayu Makire Kamina. He refers to each and one of us as one of his people that he knows. I'll tell you a personal story. You know the Mashpia, the great Mashpia, Rabbi Chaim Reitblatt. So when the Rebbe said Asay L'charav, I asked him to be my Mashpia. I was smart enough. That was the one smart move I did. So I was in Shlichus.
Besides marrying your wife.
Yeah, I was in Shlichus for 2 years in Australia as a bacher, and I used to send them letters. I did what they were supposed to do. The most impressive thing that had an effect on me from his responses was not necessarily his advice that he gave me. His advice was learn this Perek Tanya Baal Peh. This Perek, I would have known the whole time. I would have been a walking Tanya machine. I didn't listen to that. But you know what had even a greater effect? The great Mashpir, Rabbi Chaim Reitblatt, when he responded to me, he writes in the blue earmail letters, at the end, what are you singing and dancing? At the end of the letter, he signs off, Yedidcha Elachayim, your friend Elachayim. Rabbi Chaim Reitblatt, the great Mashpia. Sounds like Jingle Bells. The great Mashpia is talking to a little buckaroo in Australia, and he says, Yedidcha Elachayim. that gave me some hope. There's always a special person that cares about you, and that's actually the beginning of Tanya. So I'm gonna stress another Nekuda from Tanya. One of the Maimorah Chazal the Rebbe wanted every Talmud, every youngster to know by heart is Yismach Yisrael Ba'isov Perish Shekol Mi Shehu Mezer Yisrael Yeshal L'Smoyach B'Simchas Hashem Asher Sos V'Sameach B'Dirosei Bat Tachtonim. So there is two ways how a melech and a simpleton connect. There's either the way the melech sees a simpleton and whatever has rachmanis on him and invites him to come to the palace. Very nice. So the simpleton never hangs out in these special places, but if the melech invites him, he comes. But then there's even another way, and perhaps even a deeper way. The melech sees the simpleton wherever he is, and the melech says, I'm coming to visit with you. I'm going to spend some time with you. But tachtonim, where you are, I'm coming to you. Why is that much deeper? Because when the melech comes to you, the melech is basically saying, I like you the way you are in your situation. And that is when the person has that knowledge, how could he not be happy? That I don't have to have a total makeover right away, but Tachtainim got the Eibush that loves me. All right, one last, connect this to the Parsha. I saw the Klei Yakar says at the end of the Parsha, he says, with the story, the Sarah Mashkin, Sarah Eifin, the Klei Yakar points out, at the beginning when the story happened, they're titled the Mashke and the Eifa. That the person who gave the drink and the person who baked. But then later on the pasuk, they're called the Sarah Mashkin, Sarah Eifa. What happened? So the Klei Yakar says a phenomenal thing. It wasn't the Sar that caused the bad wine or the bad cake. It was actually the baker. But every big knacker has people working for him. Those people, the ones under him, caused the problem. But why would a Sar have such incompetent people working for them? So the Sar got blamed for them. Woo! Did you hear what he said? I have a chavrusa with a chashav in Gemara. I learned Gemara with. Just this week we learned the Gemara that b'chlal da halacha is ein einshim el kei mazhirim. You don't punish unless you got a warning. There are some exceptions. Who are the exceptions? The exceptions are those who don't need any warning because they should have known better. The only reason you need a warning to figure out if he's a shoygig or a mazid, but a guy who's learned, even a wife of a person who's learned, doesn't have to be warned because they know better. So remember what we're doing. We are the chosen people. We should know better, and we have to knock out all the nonsense and don't even let the little yud. Don't even let the little yud in, and then with just the first movement that we do, we'll overcome all the struggles. Afreilich and Chanukah.
Chanukah.